Hey guys, this is Coach Alyssa from Isabella Fitness, and I'm going to take you through a workout. So today's workout is going to be a 16-minute EMOM, which means we're going to work every minute on the minute. All right, our first minute is going to be 20 crab crunches. That's going to be our skill for today, so I'll really go into that one. 12 to 15 upright rows is going to be our second minute. And then our third minute is going to be our 12 to 15 seated presses. All right, and then our fourth minute is going to be a designated rest. All right, so for this workout, let's talk about our crab crunches a little bit first. So for our crab crunches, you're going to have to come down to the floor. All right, from here, we're going to plant our feet to the floor. We're going to come up, putting our hands to the floor. Fingers should be pointed straight forward. From here, we're gonna lift up our hips. All right, so we're in this kind of crab-like position. From here, we're gonna alternatingly bring one hand to our opposite foot. All right, so we're gonna come from here, touch our foot, touch our foot, touch our foot, touch our foot. So during this whole time while we're doing this, we're keeping this crunched position with our core. All right, we're keeping this hollow position with our core. All right, so hips are up off the floor and we're touching opposite hand to opposite foot. All right, and this is our crab crunches the whole time, keeping this area, our abdomen, nice and tight. All right, then we're gonna go into our upright rows. For our upright rows, and you can do these from the seated position as well, we're going to be doing our presses from the seated position. All right, a little bit higher, so come up off. Don't have yourself sitting all the way to your feet. You want to be up a little bit here. All right, so we don't want to be sitting flat here. We want to be up a little bit on our knees. Now for this, you are going to need some type of equipment. I'm going to use water bottles. If you have something like that, you can use them. You can use a pillow, a book, a backpack, anything that you have around your house. All right, and for the upright row, if you have two different objects, you're just going to palms down, have them here, and then we're going to bring our elbows out, up to our chest, and then bring them down, back up to our chest. So I'm not curling these up to my chest. I'm keeping them here, keeping the weight nice and close to me. And then as I come up, my elbows are getting wide up to my collarbone, and then I'm bringing them back down. Now it would work the same way if you only had one object. Say I only had one water bottle, I would still come up like this. My hands would probably just be a little bit more centered rather than here at the side. All right, so that's our 12 to 15 upright rows. I say 12 to 15 because you may feel better doing 12 some rounds, 15 others. As you get tired, you may be fatigued and only do the 12 as opposed to doing the 15. So feel it out on every round that you're doing it. For minute 3, those seated presses. All right, so again, we're gonna be up onto our knees, and then from here we're going to start at the shoulder. If again you have two objects, you're going to take them both, press up overhead. Arms should be nice and long, lots of tension here. Our head is coming through, right? It's not back here, our head is through. And then here as well, we're just making sure that we're not overarching our back, and that we're keeping our core, keeping our abdomen nice and tight, keeping our chest to our belly button here instead of overarching like this, causing just so much pressure on our lower back. All right, and again, if you only have one object, here we would have it at our chest, holding it with both hands, and we'd be pressing. All right, so again with 2 water bottles. All right, so a 16-minute EMOM, we're going to get started. All right, we're starting with those 20 crab crunches on the first minute, and then the receding minutes are going to be 12 to 15 upright rows, 12 to 15 seated presses, and then minute 4 is rest. All right, so I'm gonna stay down here, reset our clock, and we're gonna get started. All right, Jasper, look out. Good boy. All right, starting with those 20 crab crunches. Now I finished a little bit earlier, I'll just use this extra time here as rest. All right, and I have about 20 seconds until I'm going into that upright row. So I'll get into a seated position and get ready for that. All right, remember on these upright rows, we want to be up on our knees, body nice and long here, keeping our core nice and tight. In 3, 2, 1. So elbows are tracking out. I kept my piece of equipment nice and close to me. All right, all the way up to where my collarbone is, or as long as I can keep my elbows off. If we start to come up and we realize that they're not coming up anymore, we're a little tight, and they start to come down, we know that this is our limit. All right, going on to those seated presses. In 3, 2, 1, again, coming off from our seat, being up on our knees here. Another thing to think about in this position, as we're pressing, we don't want to press out wide like this if we have two different objects. We want to press straight up. That way when our arm is up, it's nice and close to our ear. Now I've earned myself an extra 20 seconds of rest, which just means that during the end of this I'll rest, and then I'll have another full minute of rest on minute 4, right? Because we're gonna have that whole minute is just a designated rest. And then once we get to minute number 4, we'll start the same thing over again, starting from minute 1 with our crab crunches. So this would be a good time to grab water, stretch out a little bit, and then get ready to dive back into our crab crunches. Say that you're struggling with those crab crunches and we're having a hard time just like leaving all of our weight onto our wrists here. Maybe it doesn't feel great. You can do the crab crunch in a modified version where our hips aren't off the ground, but they're on the ground. We're leaning back here and we're just touching foot to foot. You're gonna get a very similar stimulus there, and you won't feel that pain, that pressure necessarily on your wrist. You shouldn't be feeling pain or pressure there. It's more of if you are, then this would be a good alternative. It might just mean that our wrist, our forearm is a little bit tight. All right, just hit my 4-minute mark and I'm gonna go right back into my 20 crab crunches. Right, finish those with a little bit of extra time, which is just a little extra rest. Because we do have designated rest, and we may have a little bit of rest at each point, when we're working, we should be working very hard during that time because we know it's temporary and we will get that designated rest at the end. All right, Back into my upright row. This time I'll show you guys from the side. All right, so I've been sticking with 15. If you start to feel like, wow, this is really getting tough, you can bring the number down. You can do 14, you can do 13, you can do 12, all right? But we want to at least get 12 in of these. It's also gonna depend on what kind of weight you're using. If you have, say, like a backpack, maybe it's a little bit heavier, maybe you stuffed some books in it or something, you wanna do a little bit more, you may be sticking with a set of 12. All right. Going right into those overhead seated presses. Those last couple ones are definitely getting challenging. You might see me on the next couple of sets go down. Reps might come down a little bit. All right, and I knew after this one, again, I was gonna get a full minute of designated rest. So I'm gonna use that minute to stretch out a little bit. This is also a good time during this rest where if you feel like you want to do something a little bit heavier, maybe you have something around the house that's a little bit heavier, you want to fill up your backpack with some books or something in it to make it a little bit more challenging, or if you want to grab something a little bit lighter, this is a great time to go grab that quick and then hop back in after our designated rest is finished. There's about 30 seconds left of the rest, and then we're going to hop back in. And I'm gonna start setting up for that crab crunch. Now on this one, I'm gonna show the modified version I went over in the last round, so you guys can see the difference. In 3, 2, 1, I'm leaning back, having my core engage, and then tapping the toe. And that was 20. Now another thing too, if you feel like you want to spend more of your time working on these crab crunches, maybe you feel like 20 isn't enough because this feels pretty good, you can up the reps. I would say maybe go to 30. 40 might be a little bit much because we do want to have a few seconds at the end of that minute in order to transition over into our upright row. I would definitely not modify to under 20 though. I'd rather us modify to the other position if we need to. All right, on the 9-minute mark, up to the upright row. Elbows coming up nice and high. I'm doing 12 on this one because I'm definitely starting to feel it in my arms. All right, and then I'm going to prepare to get ready for those seated presses, those overhead presses. And we're up in about 10 seconds. In 3, 2, 1. Again, stuck with 12 here because I'm really starting to feel it in my arms. And I want to be able to maintain this until the end of the workout. All right, this again is going to be our rest. Today is definitely more really working on feeling those muscles working, keeping our core engaged. Little bit of cardio too, especially on those crab crunches, but not as much as some days. We are getting that designated rest, so we're really drilling into our strength and some muscle work today. All right, have about 55 seconds, then I'm gonna go into my next round. And this is actually going to be our last round of all 3 of these movements. And that minute from the 15 to 16 mark is actually our last designated rest, but because we're at the end of our workout, we'll finish at around the 15-minute mark. All right, I've got 15 seconds. I'm gonna get ready to go into those crab crunches for the last time. Especially on the last round, this could be a good time to say, hey, I'm going to do 30 instead of 20 this time, and go all out here. 3, 2, 1. And that's 20 for me. Like I said, if you want to continue going, you can. There's about 25 seconds left here. And then I will get ready for those upright rows for the last time. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Now these are very skillful movements, so we definitely want to make sure, especially since we're doing these for some strength training, we want to make sure that our form is good throughout, even towards the end when we start to get tired. So I'd rather us take that extra time during the minute that we have to make it look really good. All right, 15 seconds here, and then we're going to finish off with those presses. In 3, 2, 1. And that is 15 presses. All right, there's about 30 seconds left. Like I said, because this is our last round, now we just have continuous rest, right? We don't have to worry about waiting for that last minute to do our designated rest. All right, so once you finish this last set of overhead presses, you are done. All right, thanks so much guys for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.